supporting Ukraine all along. And we'll have an important meeting today, right after I talk to President Biden about the plan of victory, and I will share some details of the plan with Vice President Harris. It's crucial for us to be fully understandable and to work in a full coordination with the United States. And this morning I talked also to the congressmen, both chambers, both parties, and I'm thankful for the bipartisan support. We believe this war can be won and just peace can be closer only with the United States. Madam Vice President, this is our, you said, seventh meeting?
Seventh.
Yes, and not last. And the third meeting, as far as I remember, the third meeting this year.
Yes.
Thank you. And I want to inform you about the latest developments on the battlefield, of course, and about Ukraine's actions in the Kursk region, on what has been achieved and the ambitions ahead. Today we have a new strong support package, as you said, and we have common view on the things that need to be done. We have to keep pressure on Russia to stop the war and to make truly lasting and just peace. It's a top priority for us and for other freedom-loving nations to achieve not a freezing, but real peace for us. So we need to keep sanctions against Russia strong, and we need to use the proceeds from immobilized Russian assets to protect Ukraine, our people, our cities, our front line from Russian evil. And of course, we must work hard to bring all Russian war criminals to justice. And one more thing, I want to inform Madam Vice President about the latest Russian missile and the Shahid's attacks against Ukrainian energy infrastructure. We need to urgently strengthen Ukraine's air defense to save thousands of lives and reduce Russian terror to zero. It's achievable. Thank you again. Thanks, America. Thanks to you, Madam Vice President. Slava Ukraini.
Thank you.
President Zelensky.
Here, we're going to
Thank you, guys. Can you comment on Eric Adams, Vice President?
All right, Vice President Kamala Harris and the Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelensky wrapping up remarks in Washington, D.C. The Democrat presidential nominee there vigorously defending Ukraine in its war against Russia, calling it entirely in the interests of the United States. And in apparent jabs against her Republican presidential opponent, Harris also criticized isolationism as an American foreign policy and likened the GOP nominee Donald Trump, it would appear, to Vladimir Putin. For his part, Zelensky thanked the administration for its support. He met earlier with a bipartisan group of lawmakers after addressing the United Nations earlier this week. Joining me now is Spectrum News Washington, D.C. reporter Rena Diamante and Spectrum News political anchor Alex Cohen. Thanks to you both for being here. Rena, we'll start with you. Zelensky met with President Biden, before meeting with Harris. What do we know about that meeting and the new aid package that the White House is announcing?
President Zelensky is in Washington this week to present what is called a victory plan to President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. It is in his view, the way that his country can win the war without having to give up these Russian-seized territories. And he believes that they can do so when you can rush in financial support as well as military aid. And so we heard from President Biden and Vice President Harris there talking about their steadfast support for Ukraine in the long term. Now, they announced this huge military aid package, $8 billion in aid, as well as a new slate of weapons, including long-range bombs. And what really here, though, is an unanswered question that remains is whether or not Zelensky and his country will be able to fire those weapons deep into Russia. And so that's something that we'll continue to look out for, Josh.
Okay. And Alex, let's turn to you. You know, it doesn't appear that Trump will meet with Zelensky, especially since the former president has criticized him repeatedly, criticized him during a campaign event yesterday. He complained about giving billions of dollars to, quote, a man who refuses to make a deal to end this war. And Trump, more broadly, is a sharp critic of funding Ukraine. He says that Ukraine should cede territory to Moscow. So if Trump wins the election, what kind of resistance could Zelensky face?
Quite a bit. However, we should note that the former president just posted a few moments ago that he will end the war in Ukraine before he even takes office. It seems like he's approaching the situation in Ukraine as if this were a real estate deal, the kinds of deals he is known for. That said, I think it's really important to bear in mind the many, many lives that have been lost in this conflict. Just this morning, I heard a 30-year-old Ukrainian woman in tears when asked about this prospect of perhaps ceding some land to Russia. She said, I had family who have died in this war, I have friends who have died in this war, and there is no way I could see dishonoring their lives by conceding in any way, shape, or form. And that's the voice that I hear as I hear Zelensky say he feels confident that they can end the war. I think it's also important to note he said he met with the leaders of both parties while in Washington, D.C.
Rita, we only have about 20 seconds left or so. A lot going on in foreign affairs in the world. Does it seem that the Ukraine war is on the proverbial back burner compared to the Middle East?
Well, we know that right now the world leaders are convening there in New York for the United Nations General Assembly. And this week, the United States announced a proposal for a ceasefire agreement with Israel and Hezbollah. And so we'll see what the Prime Minister of Israel says tomorrow when he's expected to address.
Okay, Alex Cohen, Ria Diamante, thank you so much for your time. Thank you at home for watching. I'm Josh Robin. More news right now on Spectrum News. I'm Josh Robin. Here's your Spectrum News in 90. Hurricane Helene is on a collision course with Florida's Big Bend region. The storm is rapidly gaining intensity, expected to make landfall as a major hurricane this evening.